Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for the premiere of Survivor 47. My name is Mike Bloom, and we have now officially 2 hours of Survivor 47 that have aired. A cast that is as open and noisy as a box tumbling down a mountainside, and we are here to break it all down for you today. Of course, I am not alone. I am joined by the glue girl of this podcast, Liana Boraas. Liana, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mike. Before we jump into everything from this episode, I just want to close something out from the preview that we did. So we discussed your t-shirt of
Yes.
Jeff that we bought last season. So we decided that I would be wearing my t-shirt every single week and I would wash it every single week and we'll see how it disintegrates over time.
Yes.
So I just want, for the record, here is it, mint condish. Okay, Jeff.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, beautiful.
Ah.
Incredibly
Okay,
handsome.
so I just want the before and after pictures. So I want to make sure we got that in before we get into everything. I'm ready.
Yeah, we need the how it started, how it's going meme
Exactly.
for your shirt and mine from last week.
Yes.
Well, very excited to welcome this person in. You know, we did end up seeing the booth this week of a guy who was maybe one of the most famous people to play since Mike White. So it only makes sense that we bring in somebody who played with the real McCoy himself. It is the great Gabby Pascuzzi.
Hello. Yeah, definitely. My cat's excited to join us. Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Gabby, as a Survivor player, like, what do you look forward to in the premiere the most? Because it's always such like a can of worms, right? Because there's the excitement of like being a player and getting to see the first 3 days play out, and then sometimes the reality of like what the actual edited product looks out for. You know, we are coming upon what, like 6 years since you ended up playing. Do you still get like palpable emotions when you see a Survivor premiere happen?
I do. I can't explain it. Like in all areas of my life, I don't think about Survivor that often, but on Survivor premiere night, like I get the same jitters that to a much lesser extent, but I get those jitters. I really look forward to meeting the cast, and it's so fun to welcome in like a group of new people into our wacky family. And over the year, definitely when I was more recently on, I would reach out to people and be like, "Hey, da, da, da." I don't do that as much anymore because well, I'm also I'm trying to finish my PhD, so I don't have as much time to do all my Survivor fan stuff that I used to. But like, they still are like, I still am so happy to welcome them into the family, even if I'm not like reaching out to them individually. So it's just fun to see new people get to experience this once in a lifetime experience that I was lucky enough to do, and just seeing like the joy, and they're not beaten down yet. They're all excited about what their game is going to be like. They're all like still saying all their big ideas from casting where they're like, I'm going to win because da da da, and I'm like, oh, I love seeing this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed start to Survivor, like genuinely, not even making fun of them. It's a very positive and exciting time of the season.
And then they're birthed by mud, and then it all changes.
Yes, the mud is birthing you into Survivor, but that's kind of what it is, right? You're welcoming 18 new members into the family, as you said. So the birthing, I do feel, is oddly appropriate.
So
yeah.
Jeff's like, so Jeff isn't Octomom. He's like Deca Octo Dad.
Yeah, I don't know what 18 is. But then, I mean, he's got all the children before that, right? So,
yeah, exactly. It's
what, 500
generations
something?
and generations. Yeah, he's a busy man.
It's more than Nick Cannon.
That's saying something, Jeff. When's that blood versus water season? When's all of Nick Cannon and his baby mamas and all the children competing against each other?
I'm waiting, Jeff. I'm waiting.
Well, talk about an interesting new group to welcome into the family, Liana. Perhaps proper for the birthing mud. What a messy group of people. You know, I think we were wondering after 45 and 46 brought a hefty amount of suboptimal gameplay, but really entertaining television. It looks like the trend is continuing, and I am very happy to see it.
I thought from the preseason, this was just a group of social, normal people. And I'm so happy that we got to see all the chaos unfold. And it felt like every tribe had the right amount of chaos. It's not like there was sort of the one, quote unquote, calm or normal tribe. Everyone, and maybe that was due to the fact that you had the rushing Nestendal of idols that you had to go through. Or my favorite, my Roman Empire now for this episode is Rome, butt up in the well, right? Like there are all of these wonderful moments. Gabe with the box crashing down. I mean, obviously everything that happened on Gotta be cool.
Gattaca.
It was not how I expected the premiere to go. And I'm so happy that I was wrong.
Yeah. Gabby, what about you? What were your thoughts about 47 in terms of expectations versus reality? It's almost in comparison to Liana's shirt versus my shirt from last week.
Shirt versus shirt. Yeah, they're here to play. Definitely. They brought a lot of energy. I wasn't quite sure what the mess level would be. I think I tweeted before the season, I was like, there's a lot of white collar type people on this season.
Mhm.
And so I was a bit like, I was joking, but I was a little bit worried it would be very like oh yes, I'll circle back with you on that. All right, yeah.
My last tree mail.
Yes,
yeah. Let's talk offline about this. But honestly, they were a lot like more messy and loose than I expected. Which honestly, maybe I should have expected. I used to work in tech, and those people are messy too. So I'm really excited to see their personalities come out. But yeah, I will say my one thing is like I do feel like it's the cast is within this certain age range, and I would love to see more of a variety. And I do think the people that were outside of the norm in age, like we have like Sue or Saul, like they stood out to me as interesting people. So I really hope they stick around for a little bit. So that's my only like, I hope that it's not just a story of a bunch of like 20 somethings. And I'm saying that as somebody who played when I was a 20 something.
Yeah, well, then best of all, right? That like, it's fine. I want what I wasn't. I mean, here's the thing. Look, white collar, blue collar. When you go through mud, it all ends up being the same. So maybe that's another reason why the mud happens. It's like we are sort of washed clean of the outside world and allowing to be our primal selves as Survivor players. I mean, what's really interesting is that I think if you look at preseason expectations, I don't feel like a lot necessarily surprised me. Like, we knew Gabe and Rome were going to overplay. We knew that John Lovett would be looked at as maybe a little snaky and be very self-deprecating. And Andy had a lot of winner's equity coming in, but he did tell me in his interview that his biggest piece of kryptonite is overthinking. And whoo, golly, we got a hefty spoonful of that in the opening few days. I really liked it overall. I mean, we'll certainly get into the decision. Probably one of the most surprising vote outcomes we've seen in the new era. I think my biggest piece of criticism is that you have 2 hours. You have 1 hour, 25 minutes of airtime. We got to see the entire cast. To me, like, that's no excuse. I know that they probably were a little surprised that 2 beware advantages were found in the first 3 days, but like, as entertaining as Rome nearly falling down the well and Gabe having the least conspicuous or most conspicuous idol search ever was entertaining, it detracted away from getting to know like nearly a quarter of the cast as a cost.
Okay, let me tell you what I know about Caroline. She likes Sue. What do I know about Genevieve? She likes Rome. What do I know about Sierra? Nothing. And she went to
started the fire.
Council. She started the fire, right? She started the fire, right? Fire. So I completely echo that. Especially Genevieve felt one confessional and then she vanished. I mean, I was looking for her in the back. I was like, where is Genevieve? We are on Genevieve watch because I don't know where this woman is. She has disappeared from my television screen.
Tiana, where's she?
Yeah.
Where her?
Yep, exactly. And
even Saul, to your point, Gabby, like he stands out. I think the biggest thing we saw him do was show how big he was by pulling that boat. But outside of that, we saw nary of the man.
What a beast.
No, agreed. He big boy.
Well, he was kind of part of the Rome watch group, right? Like at least that group of 4, he was sort of a part of that. We got to hear him talk a little bit about that, but I totally agree. And especially when you have so much time, I think that is maybe the reason why I'm a little bit frustrated by that, because you have 2 full hours. Now, that being said, I understand why they want to show all of the Gabe idol hunt or all of the Rome idol hunt. And then obviously there's everything going on with Andy. So okay, I understand that there was just so much to show that perhaps there just wasn't enough time to squeeze in some of the other players.
What do you think about the Beware advantages this season? It seems like we're still kind of going with the scavenger hunt, especially knowing now that they have 90 minutes, they can allow them to do a series of tasks. But these are like more naturalistic. It's, hey, go to the mountainside and pull down this vine. Hey, go break this piece of driftwood. I think my favorite, Gabby, was the wash off the log to reveal the invisible ink, though I feel like you are hoping that there is no rainstorm in the first week of the game. Otherwise, it's going to be like what happened with Gabe, or what he said happened when like someone stumbled upon going to the well. They're like, wait, dig at the well. What the hell does this mean?
Yeah, I really like this style of advantage finding. It's giving escape room, which is something that I love. Like it's giving immersive gameplay. Very, very fun. It did start to feel a little long with the boxes within boxes within boxes. Like, I mean, I like laughed out loud by the time the 3rd box was revealed. I was like, are you kidding me? Only because like it does kind of mechanically take a long time to do and then to show in the episode, which therefore eats into the stuff like Liana said. Like maybe, I don't know, one way to circumvent that would maybe be to not have a certain level of it available until after the challenge or something. So it's like maybe you weren't motivated to do it right away until you were in danger. Like I'm not totally sure. I don't have the solution, but it is just notable that there was a lot of like box and key and lock and key hunting in the episode, including the journey. So it was just like,
Yeah,
it was
that's
just
true.
a lot.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that, because if every idol box had been found and they had completed it to the fullest idol, that would have been 9 total keys to find.
Yep.
Plus,
The
was it
4?
4?
4. Well, so it's 4 and 3. So it was several
Right.
keys on the journey.
Plus 9, that's 16 keys that could have been found. You're building a piano here, right? Like that's too many keys. I look, I thought it was funny. It also reminded me a little bit of a wig reveal situation.
Yes.
You just keep taking off the wigs. You know, you got the little pussycat wig underneath.
Yeah, who did that? I feel like someone did the wig reveal under the, maybe it was Monet Exchange, did like the wig reveal on top of the wig reveal on top of the wig reveal.
Right. So it was
Yes.
giving that. That was very entertaining, but yeah, I mean, just so much time. The other thing too, to bring up the hero's journey, what did we think about that in terms of pivoting away from Savvy's sweatness?
I mean, what I would say is it's tough because there was a moment right at the beginning when Asia and TK hop off the boat. And maybe it's in my head because TK had really flagged Asia to me in the preseason as like, oh, we're locked in. I want to work with her. And like, she introduces herself and says, oh, TK, right? And then the relationship has to immediately turn adversarial when it's like, okay, now hunt for these keys. That I do feel like there was a little bit of opportunity lost there. Now, it was entertaining, especially when Asia, true to her basketball player nature, does try to box out TK and like really try to get in there. And that would have been amazing if she just swipes the key out from under him. I think in retrospect, especially knowing to your point that this basically was that bridge in Paris that had a bunch of locks and keys on it, like in an episode of Survivor, I maybe could have done with it trimmed down a little bit, but in the moment, it was at least an interesting back and forth.
Yeah, I don't think it was my favorite. I think it's good that they tried something besides Sweat and Savvy. What I feel like this task lost was that Sweat and Savvy has this component where either a couple team members are working on something together, so they have an opportunity to bond or be left behind.
Exactly, yeah.
And then there's a choice element to it. So it's like, what do you think your strengths are? Or on other seasons when we've had games like the season where they had to pick a card and then lie, like the one that Jelensky did. there's a social element to it, or there's a lot. So I just felt like this didn't have kind of the choices that we like to see players have to make, which is a bit safer than I thought, the Survivor wanted to play. I thought Jeff really liked putting them in those predicaments. So I was kind of surprised, relieved for Asia that her tribe like believed her when she got back, that there wasn't some other game going on.
Well, it
Because I
certainly
feel
helps when you have Teeny being like, now, come on. I only know Asia having met her 5 minutes ago, but I think we should inherently trust every single word she says.
yes, love that. Love Teeny and Asia as what is forming. But yeah, I feel like it lost a little bit of, like you said, it turned adversarial immediately, so it doesn't even give them a chance to kind of do any kind of strategizing or social maneuvering with each other, or make some kind of choice or be invested in each other. But the task itself was pretty cool. I liked the idea of the hunt. It's just I was surprised that there wasn't a social cost or something or choice associated with it.
That's what I was expecting, Gabby.
Yeah.
I thought that they were going to have to get there and then make some decision. Maybe it's we split the supplies, or, we
do like a friend or
versus.
foe thing, right? Of like, you can choose to share the supplies, or if one of you chooses to steal it, then you get all of it.
Right, exactly. So some other element apart from just, go find keys in the woods, right? Because that is sort of boring. Because at least the benefit of the idol hunts where you're trying to find the keys is, is the rest of the tribe going to find you? Or, are they going to be able to suss out what you're doing? Are you going to be socially ostracized
In this case,
as a result of
yes.
this?
And both counts this episode.
Yes. And yes. But with this, it was obviously, you just get to go search and then get lost in the woods for a bit, right? And that just seems to be that was it. And so that made it, I think, a bit boring. So I wanted to add some element to it, or maybe, again, there was no choice to take an advantage for yourself. So for example, you have 4 keys that you need to find in the woods, 3 help you get the supplies, and then the 4th one is an idol or an extra vote or some other kind of, right? So something that goes back to Gabby's idea of choice, where you could
I like that. Yeah,
incentivize someone to do something
could you do
selfish.
something, where you like risk your vote, and within a certain amount of time you have to find a key, and it's like, okay, if you find 1 key, you get the machete, you unlock 2 keys, you get the pot, unlock 3, you get the flame. Right. And if you really want to go for gusto, then this gets you like the clue to the first idol or something like that.
Yeah. The first key to unlock the box, that then you need several more keys to unlock the actual idol. But just something else. I don't mind it being a hero's journey and being one person, but I want to see them put in some predicament that requires a choice, right? That's the fun part, seeing players make choices.
I think my favorite part of the box within the box was like the little glory holes they had set up of like, all right, it's like, well, I'm going to risk it. Let me put this thing in there.
Okay, wait. Actually, okay, glory hole aside, can we talk about the actual mechanics of it? So you put the idol in the glory hole, like back in the box. Oh, it's just the same one, and it just goes down and down.
Yeah.
And down. Oh, okay. All right.
It's upgrading as it goes deeper.
Right.
I'm not
as all good glory holes do. You upgrade as you go deeper.
It's bigger, stronger. Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Well, and I also will say, listen, Gabe was all over the place, quite literally, in this episode. A little bit of justice for Gabe, because TK comes upon him on the mountain and is like, no, I can't believe that he would claim that he just found this without a key. Like, this was a blue ring sticking up on a vine 10 feet in the air. Looks pretty damn out of nowhere to me. I think if I was wandering around, and look, maybe that area is not necessarily where you're exploring to forage for anything, for natural roughage, but like, it's sticking out like a damn sore thumb. It would be an attraction to me, certainly, whether or not I found a beware advantage or not.
Yeah. I think Gabe could have played it off a little bit more like, dude, I just saw this up here. Let's find out. But it I don't know.
Maybe it was, he just didn't sell it right. That's why there was a distrust, right? Like the lie itself is inherently believable, but it's the way that you have to just be so excited or so, right? Like over the top.
He wasn't razzed enough.
Yeah, exactly. He was just like, yeah, I don't know. We like found this key. What do you think, man? What do we do? Right? You're gonna be like, oh my god, we just found this key. Like, you're so super excited or something. You know, you just sell it a bit more.
But I also love TK's reaction, which is just, what the fuck is that? Like, like no mystification at it whatsoever. And maybe that was Gabe trying to meet him at that energy level of like, yeah, what is that? Instead of being
Yeah.
like, oh my god, dude, if TK came in with that energy, maybe Gabe would
Mhm.
match it. Otherwise, TK was like, what is that? I don't get it. Why this has been a wacky day for me.
Yeah. Well, maybe he was just like, I've had enough keys. I found enough keys. I'm good on keys. Leave the keys where they bees. Like, I don't need them.
All right, well, we need to get into the crux of this episode. All things Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Gabby, I need to get your opinions on just the enigma lovingly that this man has become over 2 hours of Survivor 47 so far.
Oh, Andy, I see so much of myself in him in both positives and, you know, maybe some of the, I don't want to say negatives, but
Constructive criticisms is
yes, areas of potential improvement.
Yeah, do a SWOT analysis on Andy. True white collar fashion.
I don't even know what that is, Mike.
Oh, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Oh my god. You'd fit in perfectly on the Bata tribe or Gata. Sorry, I don't know what any of them are.
yeah.
Okay, so Andy, first let me say Andy and we're not close friends. I've crossed paths with him in Buffalo, New York. He's from Buffalo. It's where I'm doing my PhD. We've crossed paths. We
Like
are
on the street?
bisexual. Yeah, just on the street. It's like, no. We are bisexual. We are biracial Filipinos, and we are by ourselves in our mind, freaking out a little bit, thinking too hard about what other people think of us. What a sweetheart who had a really rough start. Nobody wants to start their Survivor journey that way. And I think what we hear from him in the initial moments is he is at a place in life where maybe he's proud of himself for, you know, my whole life I felt like I haven't really fit in. And I actually found my way by fitting in by just being myself. And then you start to get the paranoia of Survivor and you start feeling like that older version of yourself, which he says on the show. It's like, well, I thought I was going to be this like new, awesome version of myself. But of course, and he seems to be aware of this, being any version of yourself is not any kind of like end goal, end state that you stay in statically. Like, you still carry all the baggage and the insecurities from your past, even if you have grown stronger from that. And it's really easy to trigger those things in this really unusual, unnatural situation. And so, you know, we see kind of this spiral happen. And I've been there. Like, you know, you can take the smallest thing, like somebody not cheering when you crack open a coconut, and you spiral and you attribute all these things to it that is not really what it means. But it's a spiral. But his spiral's happening on national television, and I mean, I think it's pretty surprising because from the outside, he's a very good looking, big kind of buff looking guy. Like, he seems confident. And I think it's surprising to see someone, even that like a physical guy that should be pretty safe in those early days of Survivor, can suddenly feel insecure because he's trying to track people's perception of him through their cheers about coconuts or through other little social cues. And as someone that's studying social psychology, I can tell you that people are very attuned to like negative, anything that could be misconstrued as negative. And especially people who are maybe more insecure are often interpret even neutral cues as negative because they see it as this kind of, it's like confirming all their worst beliefs about themselves. And so I definitely like saw that happening with Andy, right? And it's hard to watch because you're like, you haven't done anything wrong, like don't worry. And it's just a spiral.
Right. And I think it's also when one small thing happens that sets you off on this path, right?
Like
It's
a
exactly
box
what you said
tumbling
with the
down a
spiral.
hill.
Exactly. Making a lot of noise. It's okay. Jeff loves him. So, like, at least, we can rest easy with that.
Oh, that was like, we went from like spicy Jeff to just like uncaring dad Jeff, like Jack Donaghy with the there with the
Yeah.
broom to Liz Lemon of like, all right, are you okay? He said something. He's fine.
No,
Back to
he's
the
fine.
challenge.
Yeah,
I
there was
know.
that whole interaction was very bizarre from both sides. But I mean, to put myself in Andy's shoes as well, I can imagine if you've been a fan of the show for so long, you've been trying to get on the show for so long, the immense pressure that you must be under as well. So I think that speak of the tumbling down, right? You have this strong force really just pushing, and not sleeping also can contribute to this. So I think that there's just so many different factors that can really contribute to the spiral.
Yeah, I mean, from a mental health perspective, especially, isolation even magnifies all those qualities that Gabby was speaking about further. And certainly it seems from the Rachel of it all that Andy was feeling increasingly isolated, that the reason why he woke her up in the first place was because he was feeling isolated, and it was only magnified when she gave an understandably adverse reaction to being like, all right, I'll work with you. Just don't wake me up at 3 a.m. and pull me aside. And then he proceeds to do exactly that. So again, I absolutely understand, especially from like an internal monologue perspective, how you can make a mountain out of a molehill, how you can turn every little thing into something that can be weaponized against you. All that being said, what it resulted in was pretty damn incredible. Like, could not stop watching. I had to get eyedroppers of water just because I wasn't blinking at all of this unraveling in front of me. This was wild. I don't know if Tiana was indicating her edit or if she was like trying to suggest something to Andy by being like, stop it, stop talking. Because I just have never seen something like this before outside of like a Brandon Hance situation where Andy is just like, oh, time to do my final words. Here's everything that's going on with my game in front of 17 other people.
Yeah, I think that was the thing for me, was that, okay, you have all the camp life stuff. Okay, obviously he's struggling, hopefully he'll be able to get his feet back underneath him. But it's really the challenge where everything seems to just slip away from the moment that, he's got, maybe he's feeling lightheaded or cramping, whatever the situation. Okay, so like some medical thing. And then he starts talking, and then he gets back up. And then the whole thing with John, that was the moment for me where I was just like, oh my God, he did not just say that. My best friend is John, and I'm ready to throw him under the bus. Like, what? It was amazing television. Absolutely amazing.
I couldn't believe they were inside thoughts that came out of his
Yep.
mouth with I think he was still melting down and not realizing it. Like, obviously, he kind of started okay. He was like, I was overheating, and it's like, oh yeah, totally get it. And it's like, pause. Or, really, actually, it was Jeff egging him on. He's like, you seem emotional. It's like, oh no, don't take
Jeff,
advantage
you
of me.
enabler.
Jeff.
Paranoia is a drug, and Jeff's dealing it out like it's candy.
Yeah.
First taste is free.
Yeah, it was hard to watch because it was his thoughts made sense for inside his head,
Yes.
or even in front of his tribe maybe, but what really made it difficult or like bite your nails was it was in front of the other tribes too. That was hard to see. I think I also want to say, as someone that's been a player, those first few days in front of the cameras and all of that, I don't think you're used to it yet. And sometimes, like, if Jeff prompts you to say something, you feel like you have to respond, or like you just feel like you're on the show, and maybe they're not as like media trained yet, where like later in the season, they know how to kind of give those snappy confessionals. They know what to say, how to say it in a cool way. It's like he's new to being on TV as well, and there's hundreds of cameras in front of you, and it's like maybe in that moment your brain doesn't register like, I don't actually have to tell the whole story right now, because you've been in casting for months and they're like, tell us more and it's like, you don't have to speak right then. But so I could see maybe that being part of it.
That's very valid. I just realized, like, while this felt fairly unprecedented, it really shouldn't have. Because let's look at the box office hit of the summer. Was Andy not just undergoing the plot of Inside Out 2, where he's entering this brand new scenario, all these new people, and his emotions are like trying to be fairly regulated. He's been able to get everything down. You know, he said the old version of him was much like Riley in that first movie, where happiness and sadness learned they had to work in tandem, but everything seems copacetic. But then when he's thrown into this new situation, there's a new set of emotions that come in, and there's envy in the form of, oh my God, John got cheers when he cut open the coconut. There's embarrassment in the form of, oh my God, I collapsed and had this big public display. But most importantly, there is anxiety, who takes the entire console for that 3-minute period and just leads to verbal diarrhea. It makes so much sense. Pixar predicted it, Liana.
Exactly. We should have known that this was coming. Come on. Obviously, Survivor 47 is the sequel to Inside Out 2. Inside Out 3.
Mike is plugging Inside Out to a movie that's already out of theaters, much like Suri was plugging this like
Wild Robot, yeah.
Wild Robot movie during the commercial. It's like, but Inside Out 2 is not coming out
much
anymore.
Like Survivor, we let anxiety take over sometimes. You could see anxiety take the console here on Inside Out 2, now on Disney Plus.
I can tell that you're a dad now, Mike, because like I haven't seen Inside Out 2.
We ended up going to see it, but then we cut out after the first half an hour because Asher felt, and I didn't realize that 5-year-olds can feel this. He actually like felt cringe at the embarrassment character, and so we had to cut out of the movie because he felt too much cringe.
Wait.
Secondhand embarrassment?
Yeah.
There's so much to dig into. So first of all, your 5-year-old felt secondhand embarrassment, but you're his father. Does he not feel secondhand embarrassment all the time?
All right, I set you up there for the slam dunk, Leon. I can't deny that. That's an alley-oop.
But the second, which is a genuine question, did you actually ever finish it, or are you just going based on the first 30 minutes of the film?
I'm genuinely interested in it. We'll see what happens. I'm assuming it was a happily ever after, and the emotions all figure out how to work together in tandem. And I'm imagining it'll be the same thing for Andy as well.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
I mean, look,
good tie back.
He got a second life here, right? And I can't take credit for this. I saw it on Reddit, but someone said something along the lines of, you know, Andy was talking about how, I only had 4 friends in high school. John was like, oh, well, wouldn't that be nice? And 4 friends kept him safe. So there's definitely this coming full circle moment with Andy. And
So he can't be in a tribe that's larger than 5 people is what you're saying.
Correct. He needs a majority of 4. So as long as 4 is in the majority, then I think he'll be okay. 5, I guess, including himself. But look, who knows? This could be a new lease on life. I've seen people compare him to, you know, the Emily path, the Banu path, right? Like, where do you go from here after this very chaotic and intense first 3 days?
Yeah, Gabby, how surprised were you by the John boot? And do you feel from our outsider perspective it was the right decision?
Okay, I think I'm on an island here because I was not surprised. I think, okay, I'm sorry. I guess I'm going to be barred from Pod Save America Forever, which I was totally lined up to be a friend of the pod on. But like, I actually don't think John capitalized on the situation as well as he could have. So I think, you know, it was like, I think he had the potential to be a good player. And I will say, if I had been on his tribe, I think I'm a little older than some of the people on his tribe now. I would have.
Do you know what Vine is?
To work with him. Yeah, why were the Gen Zs saying that? Because actually it was our older people. Vine was around for us. So like, you guys actually don't know what Vine is.
Maybe they were genuinely curious. Like, do you know what Vine is? Because we don't.
They're like, oh, ancient one at 41. Or do you know what Vine is? Yeah, a little bit terrifying as like a 31-year-old now that like 26-year-olds might one day be like, Gabby, like, have you ever heard of TikTok?
Why is it British?
TikTok? I don't know why 26-year-olds are
Maybe it's like that thing where like if you see a word written, you think it's pronounced a different way until it's actually said.
Exactly. Archipelago. Yeah.
all of this is to say, he would have, I think, been actually a good alliance member. I think if the other tribe members were savvy, I think they should have continued to work with him. So in that way, I could see it being surprising because I think he had potential in the game. In the 3 days that we saw, I wasn't that surprised because, and obviously we didn't see everything John tried to do to try to save himself. But like in my head, if someone has that big of a blow up and kind of paints a target on themselves and you aren't able to capitalize on that, I don't know that you kind of I don't know that he capitalized on the situation as well as I thought he could have. And that might be because he felt a lot of loyalty towards Andy, in which case I say shout out to you, John. Like, he seems like a lovely person. And like I said, like I've met Andy and he's a lovely person. And so thanks for saving my bi-squared friend. But that loyalty might have been what prevented him from, maybe he should have thrown Andy under the bus, right? Just as Andy said he was willing to do to John. So I wasn't that surprised, or I don't really feel like John was robbed or anything like that, because I think without the Andy blow up, maybe John is the vote. There's a lot of content about he's not clicking with them. He's older, he's whatever. So then actually you're handed this opportunity on a silver platter with Andy having like the blow up of a century, and you still can't like switch the target off of you. I think that John Lovett might have done a little better with more time to dig his feet in the game, but I don't feel like he was robbed. Because I feel like he failed to capitalize on that situation.
Right. I think it also, I love the fact of pointing out, like, okay, well, if the Andy meltdown hadn't have happened, what would have been the outcome, right? Is it still a John boot regardless because he is failing to interact or with the tribe and really just can't connect with them, which is so funny to me because I didn't know John before this. I was not familiar with Pod Save America. I get all my political content from Twitch streamers, so like I was not up to date on this.
Oh boy.
But I really enjoyed him. Like
he was very fun.
And maybe it does go to this age difference as now, getting up there in age as a 30.
We're millennials.
I know we're millennials, right? We're like the old people now in Survivor. But it was just, I thought he was so fun. I really, really enjoyed him. So for me, it was like, okay, what's not working? Why are you not able to, lock in with people? Maybe more Vine references were needed. I don't know. But something just felt like it wasn't gelling.
He had the equivalent of 6 seconds of airtime, basically, to get across. I mean, I'll communicate what John has expressed to me, which is that he does feel in a weird way that the Andy blow up did lead to his boot, because he felt that, and I definitely see your point, Gabby, that like that is a very easy thing to go after somebody else of like, this guy is a loose cannon, I'm more reliable, keep me over him. And certainly that was being argued. But what John was arguing, and maybe the impetus is on him because he assumed too much, was, okay, the minute Andy did that, he presented himself as not a threat, because this is a guy that completely tanked, a lot of equity in that moment with everyone else in the game. So why would you want to get rid of that over someone who is more threatening in the form of me? Something else that he expressed, which is really interesting to me, is he said that maybe the edit embellished a bit of like the generational gap. He actually said that he was in tight with Annika and Rachel, which does beg the question to me as to like Annika and Rachel's decision, because the way he sort of surmised the dynamics was that it was Annika and Rachel as a pair, Sam and Sierra as a pair, and kind of like him and Andy left by default. And if I'm Annika and Rachel, if I'm looking at a possible like 2-2-1 split at the next vote, I would much rather have John as my swing than Andy.
I agree. Yeah, I want to go back to what you said about the being a threat, because I feel like I do feel like that's a bit of a misreading of a game where I don't think you should look at threats to win the game on day 3. I think you need to look at threats to your immediate game and an ability to socially maneuver. And so if I were John, I would have flipped the thinking, okay, maybe Andy kind of neutralized himself as a threat to win, but which also I would say, I don't think you can say that on day 3, but sure, let's go along with that for now. And then I would flip that and say, so maybe he's not going to win, but that means, now everyone's like, he's so unreliable. How could you have him as a alliance partner, even if you don't believe that? But I just feel like I don't really buy that Andy's blow up would have cemented John's getting sent home. I know I wasn't there, but I don't know. To me, it seems like a typical vote almost. Like they kept strength over a really smart, strategic player that I guess maybe I didn't know if he had gelled with them. But I feel like we saw sort of like a strong but maybe strategically less reliable person in Jelensky get sent home last season. So that could have happened again here, and it didn't, which is fine. And I'm excited to see Andy continue. I am disappointed to lose John Lovett, as who I would have been a really great storyteller, but I think more could have been done. Perhaps I think how he thought he was going to play was fact checked against how he would play, and I think he's an extremely strategic, savvy, and like a good observer, and I didn't see those skills like utilized to the max. Maybe if they hadn't gone to the first tribal, he might have avoided that fate.
Right, a little bit more time maybe to try to like really cement something with Annika and Rachel so that it felt more like a 3 than a 2-2-2.
The other argument about Andy not, he lost all his win equity right in the first 3 days, that they're always going to vote you out over Andy. Right. So why on earth would you ever keep Andy around? Because, all right, well, he's already the GOAT that's going to get dragged to the final 3, whatever. Right. Like you can just use whatever arguments you need. But based on at least the logic that we saw on the show, it did come down to just strength. I mean, at least that was what we heard. Whether or not that was the full decision, that's what the show decided to portray it as.
Yeah. I mean, what I also find interesting is that like the start of this season, maybe it's just because it aired right after the premiere, but I get a lot of Big Brother 26 vibes from it. And I mean that in a very loving way. I've been loving the chaos that Big Brother 26 is providing, which is like, is there any elite gameplay? No, but everyone is like trying something. And it's also leading to like big personal dramatic moments as well. I mean, a lot of people were making this comparison that like Andy's Matt Chat meltdown was Angela's Crazy Eyes rant. And similarly, we could see, much like Angela is through this week, Andy somehow survived vote after vote because there's always going to be a bigger fish to take care of.
And I think he will. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I'm really hoping that Andy can recover from this. Or as Jordan Kalish sent me a screenshot from the Survivor Facebook page, Adam. A lot of people were calling him Adam. So.
Why?
I saw that on Twitter even, and I was like, who
is Adam?
Does Andy autocorrect to Adam? Do we have to talk to Tim Cook?
I don't know.
We do. We now have to talk to Tim Cook.
Put in a bug report.
And we haven't even touched on like the dozens of players who had a bad start and bounced back really well. Like Aubrey and
Matthew Maverick O'Brien.
Gabler wanted to be voted out in the very first episode. Remember? Like he was like, no, vote me out. Okay. So to me, the writing on the wall for Andy, look, it's in washable paint, right? Like I think that there's a universe.
Throw some water on that log.
Yeah, exactly. You're just, hope for the rainstorm, I guess. Go dig in the well. I think we'll see where things go from here. I think it was a very exciting 2 hours, but also I think that there were a lot of monumentous events that happened, especially in terms of the hero's journey and the idol finds and of course Andy's situation. So I'm reserving the BB26 comparisons for now. I think let's see where things go over the next couple weeks.
Well, where we're going is to our typical B&B fare, and let's keep talking John Lovett here. Let's get into our preseason predictions on how we thought Mr. Lovett would do on Survivor. Liana, did you love it, John Lovett's chances on the season? How did you think he would do in the preseason?
Okay, so I did have John Lovett going pre-jury.
Okay.
So I got
you
that.
are also barred from Love It or Leave It.
Right. Yeah,
Pod Save
exactly.
America.
Gabby and I are both not invited. I did have him going a bit further than first boot, which I think, yeah, there's only one direction really you could go. But I said that John survived the first Gata tribal council due to his deadpan charisma, but the second time he was not so lucky. John formed a close bond with Andy, but the Nexus of Power, aka Sam and Annika, were nervous about John flipping come the merge. In only 4 episodes, John managed to get a staggering 40 confessionals. Also, John was Jeff's favorite, who was clearly sad when John was voted out. He honors him by calling him Love It on the way out. His ally was Andy, and his enemy was Sam and Annika.
Oh, look at this, Liana,
I know.
right on the money.
I know.
I think you've earned a spot on that guest list now for being, unless you got spoilers from John Lovett himself. Maybe you are already a friend of the podcast.
Shh, I'll never tell. I'll never reveal your sources. Yeah. Shh.
All right, well, I guess I'll join myself on the blacklist with the two of you. I also had John Lovett going for sure.
Okay, the whole
It's such a
B&B, we're not
shame too,
invited.
because they were going to invite us on, the three of us together as
I
a
know,
unit, and it's
specifically.
sad now that we
ruined it.
ruined our chances of
We
going
come
on
as
a political
a package
podcast.
deal. Yes, BBP. That's what they
Yes.
call us.
B&B and P.
B&B and P. So John Lovett, I said, despite him being open about being a podcaster, his tribe doesn't really care, instead drawn in immediately by his self-deprecating jokes. We'll get a whole segment about how uncomfortable he is in the wild, culminating in a moment of triumph where everyone cheers as he does something simple like taking an aqua dump.
Oh.
True to his word, he'll hunt out his gays and theys early on, joining up with the Gata women. But when they go to their first tribal council, he'll turn the tribe against Annika, worried about her possibly having an advantage. When the swap hits, John gets put in the minority. Assuming he's well-spoken and strategic based on his job, he becomes the easy target of gerrymandering on his new tribe, as he's now placed in the Ponderosa district. His ally was Rachel. His enemy was Sam, then his reputation.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
If only the Electoral College existed for survivor votes.
I mean, is the jury not that?
Yeah.
Oh
my
boy.
gosh.
All right, Gabby,
Yeah.
the gabful is in your hands. You get to determine who was more on the money about how John Lovett would do in the preseason.
The gabful. I have to give it to Liana. And that's because Mike thought that the podcast and his reputation would matter a lot more than it did.
Oh.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to John and Love It or Leave It and Pod Save America, because they get their news from TikTok. They don't listen to we're millennials. They don't given I don't listen to Pod Save America, but I will say I did text a friend of mine when he was announced, and I said, "Did you ever listen to Pod Save America?" And she said, "Not anymore, but I used to."
Okay.
And that, I feel like, was the minimum that he needed and did not get.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? When he like canvasses everyone being like, have you heard of Pod Save America? And then he's like, I think I've heard of it. Like, when that's the maximum amount of engagement that this tribe has with your podcast, I mean, it's good on the one hand because it's not like now people aren't saying like, oh, he's so famous, we got to get him out. But on the other hand, a little bit of a shot to the ego. Even though it seems like from what John was talking about with his own job, there were enough shots taken to that ego even before he stepped foot on the beach.
Yeah, but I think he had a shot to the ego, and I think he thought he didn't want people to target him because of this reputation, but then when nobody cared about that reputation, I think he was like, "Oh no, but how do I like prove myself now?" Again, I'm getting more and more blacklisted, but you know what I have loved though? Register to vote, people. Shout out to Vote Save America. Register to vote. I mean, I live in a blue state, so my vote literally doesn't matter. But to those of you in the swing states, go vote. So shout out, John.
Yeah.
Shout out to Obama. Shout out.
Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah, John shouted out Obama like Jeff Kent did in his final words.
Yes,
Exact same
yes,
way.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, yeah. These people were. I was in high school when Obama was in office. These people were in middle school when Obama was in office. So they don't. I'm so sorry, John. That
you think they don't care? They're like,
they don't
"He's so
care. They don't.
old
Well, I don't.
news."
Yeah, do you know Jelly Roll? I don't care about Obama.
Well, I don't think he probably didn't tell them that he speech wrote for Obama. I don't know. Did he? Maybe it would have actually helped.
Yeah,
but
that could have helped.
my point is, John was on the wrong tribe. I feel bad for him. He was like he needed to. You know what? I wish John and Sue could have been on the same tribe. That I would have watched.
I don't know if you heard some things over the summer. I don't know if there's.
That's why I said I would like to watch. I would like to see it.
Right. Yeah. There's a difference between like, I'm just curious to see how this would go. And I think it would like be better for John in that situation.
Yeah, listen, I also want to say my friend made this joke. I can't take credit for it, but like Survivor's viewership leans contrary to like maybe the what we see on Twitter sometimes with the viewership like leans conservative.
Yeah,
as Liana knows from Casual Corner. And then we have like I at least occupy this like little space online of like people like on the left, and my friend said we got to bring in the Democrats. We got to find a way to bring in the Democrats, the Dems, the Libs. We got to bring them in. And now they're not watching because John Lovett got out in the first episode. I see all these tweets. They're like, I tuned in. I'm not going to watch. We're losing the left, people. We're losing the blue wave. The blue wave's not coming to Survivor.
Is it safe to say that Gotta owned the Libs by taking out John?
Yes.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Just Lib gonna make L. Survivor great again.
Huge Lib L.
I love the idea though that the Gabby's hopes of liberal-fying the audience of Survivor rest on John Lovett of all people. Someone you are not familiar with, but you're like, but if he stayed on the show, imagine what would happen.
Oh, there's a contingent. Listen, there's a contingent of liberals who are with their 1.5 million listeners or whatever of his podcast that they are not changing their opinions on Survivor now, and it's a loss. It's a huge.
Should the issue
loss.
have been that they stunt cast not celebrities but listeners specifically of Pod Save America, and much like Argentini filled the tribe around John with that?
Yes, they needed like a 37-year-old woman who has like an I'm with her sticker on her bumper sticker and like is the CEO of a like women's empowerment company.
What is empowerment?
Company. A company that sells women's empowerment.
Can you just buy that? Yeah. That would be great. I'd love to buy stuff.
Everything has a price, Liana.
Yeah, no, right?
Yeah, that's who they needed. She would have loved John.
I know. She would have loved John. When John said, I wrote for Hillary Clinton, she'd be like, oh my God, Hillary Clinton, we love her. Pokemon go to the polls. Yes, I'm chilling in Cedar Rapids. Like, that's who we need.
You're picking up what I'm putting down. So sorry, John, but it's we got two things in Survivor. We've got conservatives and we've got the far left, and we need the liberals. And we've got tech people, and so I don't know where they.
A lot of white collar
conservative versus far left versus tech people. That's a season.
Tech people are not they are not. Yeah, I'm sorry, they're not listening to the politics podcast. But anyway, that's enough. But they have so much tech work to do.
Can't they put it on in the background?
They're busy swatting, Mike.
Didn't
we go over this?
Busy swatting.
SWAT takes a lot of brain power.
That's right.
They don't have time for that. They're building an app.
Yeah, they're building apps, Mike. They're gonna save the world through their apps. Okay,
they're building women's empowerment apps.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think they should make like a new version of a mindless game like Flappy Bird, where it's like unlock a box, and within that box is another box.
Yes.
Okay, wait. I'm not gonna lie though. I would play that game. And I hope that it's so minimal skill, all you do is just click, but you get to open boxes and it gives you that reward. And so I feel that,
Yeah,
you know,
that-
the
but the thing
instant
is-
gratification pleasure of doing nothing, essentially.
But it's Sisyphean. The cycle continues anew because it's the gratification of I unlock something, but then you're immediately met with an obstacle, right?
I know.
Another box. So
I know.
I honestly, if there's any app developers out there, hit me up.
Are there?
I-
Are there
and I-
any?
Oh,
They're not
I guess
watching
they don't listen to
Survivor.
podcasts,
They're
right?
all,
They're
no,
not
they're
done.
all on Survivor. They're all on Survivor right now. They can't make apps.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
busy.
You need Annika, your project manager, to get this
Yes.
done, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, she'll be like, okay, I watched a YouTube video about an app. Here's how you make it.
I know how to do it. You just hold your fingers up and then you count.
Okay, Rachel was real for that though, because I just learned that recently, and I
Yeah.
was like, they should use this on Survivor, and then spookily she mentioned it on Survivor. She's so right with the
Ooh.
fingers. That was
You
cool.
put it into the universe.
Yeah, Sundial said,
Yeah, it
F
was
my
all me.
drag. I don't need to stick a stick in the sand. Just hold your hand up. Stare at the sun. That's all you need to do.
Look directly into the sun. You'll be fine. Okay, so we are going to play the game for this week, and we are staying on the topic of John Lovett. Okay, you've heard of
we
Lovett or-
gotta milk it. We got
we got
only
a,
2
we
hours
got one
out of him.
episode. That's all we got. All right. You've heard of Love It or Leave It, but have you heard of Love It or Love It? Because that's the game that we're playing today. So I have to give credit to Puya. He came up with the idea. So shout out Puya. Thank you very much.
Woohoo.
So essentially the way this game is going to work is I have pulled quotes from either John Lovett, Survivor fame, or John Lovett's actor fame. So
Oh, that's a person?
Oh no, Gabby. Oh
Today
no.
is the day that Gabby learns who John Lovett is.
As we all do, there comes a time in every person's life where they inevitably acknowledge his existence.
Is this like the John Favreau thing? Because that was confusing too.
Oh, very confusing.
Can we pull up a picture of John Lovett?
Yeah, I'll pull
just
up a
the
picture of
center.
John
I think Gabby might recognize him once she sees a picture of him.
Yeah, you mean you probably know him from like Rat Race, from The Wedding Singer,
Mhm.
SNL.
Yes, he's an actor.
I see him.
I believe A League of
I
Their
know
Own.
John Lovitz.
Okay,
Okay,
Right.
got it.
this is maybe a generational game as well. I'm learning.
Yeah, it's John Lovett.
I'm only 31. I'm a baby.
There he
I
is.
don't
Is John
know.
Lovett's the Vine of comedic actors? We shall see.
Mhm. Okay. So I'm going to read you a quote from that was said, I assume. I found them online. So look, we're just gonna chalk it up to the internet. From either John Lovett or John Lovitz. Okay, so podcaster, speechwriter, or actor, right? Those are our 2 Johns that we're talking about. So Mike, we're
Okay.
gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with you. Your first quote is, I heard you call me immature earlier. Well, you're just a big poop head. Was that said by John Lovett or John Lovitz?
This game is already worth the price of admission. Because, like, I could imagine both of them being said. Because John Lovitz has worked in, like, some rather juvenile stuff. Look, yeah, you got to make a paycheck in Hollywood. But I could see John Lovitz saying this in such a dry way. I'm going to go with Lovitz with a Z.
That is correct. That was
Okay.
said by John Lovitz.
In
with a Z.
something or just, like, as a person?
Well, that's a good question. You should ask brainyquote.com, which is where I got most of these.
Fake
I don't have time
news,
to
fake
listen to all his
news.
interviews. Yeah, I don't know. I got
Such
no idea.
bad
Conan
journalistic
O'Brien.
integrity.
He was talking to Conan. It was a Conan O'Brien interview, Gabby. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Obviously, I know where it's from.
Yo, just a big poop head.
That's wow.
That's
what a
good.
Gabby, you didn't know who he was until like
No,
5
I know who he is
seconds
now
ago.
that I see his
Oh,
face.
okay.
I
It's
It's
know,
one of
I
those,
know
like,
who he
don't know
is.
the name until you see
Right,
the face,
until you see
people.
the picture.
I know him.
Gotcha.
I know
Okay.
him.
Okay, Gabby, we're going to go to you.
Okay.
Your quote is, I'm also probably your smartest guest. Love it
Ooh.
or love it?
Love it, the podcaster.
Okay, we love the gumption, but we don't like the answer because that is incorrect.
Ah.
Unfortunately, no, that was
No.
also John Lovitz.
That was
Mike,
a trick question because, yeah, he was on a talk show, but sounds like he
Yes.
was on a podcast.
I know.
but I thought maybe that it would be so obvious that actually it was right, but I was wrong.
Right. Okay. Let's go back to Mike Bloom. Your quote is, "The problem with the economy isn't that people aren't paying their fair share of taxes."
Oh no! Now I'm having a case of the Gabby. Now I'm having a case of
Don't call
overthink.
it that.
It's contagious. Because now I'm thinking like, okay,
Don't say the case of anything I'm associated with is contagious, Mike. Slander.
I got a case of the Gabbies. Oof.
I mean, like, that's the thing. Love it is obviously the go-to answer because it's talking about something as serious and as societal as the economy. But could it be John Lovitz saying that? Who's to say he's not an expert on the economy? I will go Occam's razor here and go with Lovett the podcaster.
It was Lovitz, the actor.
This man needs a Nobel Peace Prize. This is an expert
right?
on everything.
You don't have to be an expert to talk about things.
I think that I've made that abundantly clear over the past 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. You're the poster child of that, Mike. Gabby, we're going back to you. Your quote is, "I do see your point, but to me, I'm just a mouse compared to the president of the United States."
Oh boy. Oh god.
John Lovitz.
Oh god. Oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, this is not my answer. The obvious answer. Who would he be saying "I see your point" to? Like a fellow podcaster,
A
or
pencil.
a fellow podcaster John Favreau, or fellow actor John Favreau.
Could John Lovitz have said it to Jon Favreau, the director, on the set of Iron Man?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Well, Jon Favreau, the actor, is Jon Favreau, the director, right? Are they
Yes.
They're the same person. On Iron Man, they were on Iron Man together. Oh, this is all starting to come together.
The pieces, they're all coming together.
I'm starting to see what's going on here. I'm going to answer Lovitz with a Z because I think Liana's trolling us.
Gabby, you saw right through me. I'm absolutely trolling you. That was John Lovitz with a Z. Mike, we're going back to you. Your quote is, "Basically, half the time, my butt is like, what is this? Why am I not nestled?"
Okay, so this is talking from the perspective of the butt. Why am I not nestled?
Correct.
Okay, so this is interesting because I did see, and this is really interesting in retrospect, John Lovett did a whole media blitz this summer with the anticipation that he'd be on Survivor, and he had this whole extended rant on At Midnight this past couple weeks about like chairs that are not ergonomically made for humans, that it's like either the arms are too tall or I'm just like squished up with my arms against my side. So it feels like he doesn't want to be claustrophobic. But it sounds like this person wants to be. John Lovitz already had a butt quote. I'm going to say it's not 2 for 2. I'll say Lovett the podcaster.
That is correct. It is Lovett the podcaster. Congratulations, Mike. That gets you another point. Good. Our score at the moment, Mike 2, Gabby 1. But Gabby, it's your quote.
Okay.
"If you build it, nerds will come."
Oh, that's a get that on a t-shirt.
That's funny.
Mike's like,
okay.
I live by that.
That's my live, laugh, love.
It's essentially the equivalent, yeah.
Well, then
live,
that's
laugh,
what's making me think it's the podcaster, because it's like, you know, they made this kind of this podcast that like politics nerds and stuff listen to, but who knew that? But I just want to go back to the nestled butt, because Mike like did research. Mike like knew about a specific chair related that, like, okay, so I think that was very good.
Cheating.
I'd be happy to lose to you
listen,
with that amount of research.
Blame the algo. Things fall in my FYP, and I just pick them up and nestle them in like a nicely crafted butt inside some sort of apparatus.
Correct.
I'm going to say love it because I think he has built like a community where politics, nerds, and all sort of people and things will go.
Now, to be fair, I can't prove that he's never said that.
You should have said that as a precursor for the entire game.
So true.
But technically, that was John Lovitz, attributed to
my
John
gosh.
Lovitz, not Lovett. That's all right, Gabby. You're still in this. Although, if Mike gets this one correct, I believe technically you are mathematically eliminated. So let's go back to Mike for his last quote. I'm motivated by a bottomless well of anger. It's a joke, but I don't think I don't mean it.
Oh, okay. This is like a riddle. It's a joke, but I don't think I mean it.
I don't think I don't mean it.
Double negative.
No wonder they voted this guy out if it was love it. Like, he's talking in double, triple negatives. I don't want to deconstruct a sentence while I'm trying to play Survivor. I want to diagram stuff. Okay, so what was the self-deprecating statement, the first part of the sentence?
I'm motivated by a bottomless well of anger. It's a joke, but I don't think I don't mean it.
See, this is interesting because I would not consider John Lovett, the podcaster, a very angry person. I think like he would almost take the boiling water that is that rage off of the burner and just like freeze it into pure self-deprecation. I don't think his feelings take that phase of matter is what I'm saying. But at the same time, it was crafted in a way that felt like it would come from a writer. Like that's what I'm trying to balance right now. John Lovitz has played angry characters, but John Lovett would be the person to kind of construct that type of sentiment, especially the I don't think I don't mean it. So I will go with the wordiness, much like my filibustering before this answer, and I will say Lovett the podcaster.
I lost your logic about halfway through, but that is correct, Mike.
There we go.
Yes, you nailed it. John Lovett said that quote. Shout out to, there was a Reddit thread of quotes from Pod Save America, and that's where that came from. Gabby, your last quote, although you are eliminated, but this just for funsies, let's see if you can identify who said this quote. Have we learned nothing from the food pyramid? Get that bread out of there.
Okay, the ones Mike has had, I feel like the last one I would have gotten, and I'm gonna try to apply my own logic to this, and this will get me barred from ever having John Lovett, the podcaster, like me. The last one about it's a joke, but I didn't not mean it. John Lovitz with a Z is a comedian. Comedians don't say that's a joke. Podcasters who are trying to be funny say that.
Again, 10 years. I know all about it.
Same logic.
Yeah.
The pyramid thing is pretty funny. So I'm going to guess it's John Lovitz, the actual comedian. And if it's not, then good job, John Lovett. You made a funny joke without calling it a joke.
Well, as someone who also explains all her jokes, I very much identify with that logic. Too. But shout out to John Lovett for making a funny joke without having to explain.
Win-win, baby.
Yes.
Good job. Yeah,
Good
you see how
job.
I ingratiated myself where I'm like,
Smart.
It's not funny, but if you did this, it is funny.
I mean,
yeah, so
this is why
back on the pod, baby.
So.
I mean, we also know John Lovett said in his bio that he likes to work out, so it would make sense. He feels like carbs are not an essential part of anyone's diet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
Okay,
he has
would not have known that.
A whole rant on the food pyramid that actually seems quite funny.
That's good.
Yeah. Love that. And you know what else I loved? I love it and love it to this game so much.
Good job,
but congratulations, Liana. Mike. You are the winner of Love It or Love It.
There we go. Woo-hoo. Perfect. Woo-hoo. Exactly as expected. Well, that's the ticket, to quote one of our subjects here. To close things out, as we do every week on the B&B, we will throw it to our guest to plug a charity or cause that is important to them to highlight for the listeners out there. Gabby, it's all on you. What would you like to highlight this week?
Yes, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I'm going to take this opportunity to highlight the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, which gives humanitarian aid to children in Gaza right now, which is children don't have meals, aren't able to go to school and all of that. So thanks for allowing me to plug that.
Yeah, of course. It was such a great time having you here, Gabby. I think it's been a while since I think we've had you on for a
I
B&B proper.
know.
And what an episode to welcome you back for. Lots of stuff to get into. I think it's been a very fun start to the season so far, and certainly setting us up for lots of dramatics to come. Any final thoughts you have about this episode and anything you want to plug for the listeners out there?
Oh, I think it's gonna be a fun season. I don't know what to expect. I never do. And I'm excited to get to know the rest of the cast through these future episodes. And I don't have anything to plug. I am on Twitter. I tweet this episode sometimes during or after at Gabby Pascuzzi. And that's it. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was so fun.
I will plug something of yours, Gabby, though. Something that I saw you post right before the premiere. And yes, we are already one episode in, but it's advice that should be taken. And look, you say, I don't know what a SWOT analysis is, but I saw a little bit of a white collar on you, Miss Pascuzzi, because you posted a whole ass flow chart for Survivor players as to how they should approach looking at fan reception of themselves online. And I will plug that for everyone
Thank
out there,
you.
Survivor players, past, present, and future. It's a really great way to digest, like, when you see a comment about yourself, for good or for bad, how you should let that inform who you are as a person, which, spoiler alert, you shouldn't. So always a
Yep.
good reminder. That's what I'll plug from Gabby's fantastic content.
Aw, thank you. I did that while procrastinating on the actual work I need to do for my PhD. So I
Yay.
made a flowchart online. But yeah, honestly, that is my message to all the new players. If you're listening to this or loved ones of the new players, like, just enjoy this time. It's so fun and it's so special. Nothing can take away the experience from you. And just like, I know that you're not going to listen to any advice that's like, don't look online. If you can do that, that's the better piece of advice. But if you do, just like, these people don't know you, don't take it to heart, including me and us on this podcast. Like, we're just having fun commenting on, like, as if it's like a sport that we like, right? So John Lovett, please don't hate me. I think you're funny. And also to the rest of you, if we didn't mention you in this podcast, it doesn't mean that we didn't enjoy you on our screen. But having been in your shoes, like, I understand how amplified everything feels during this time.
Liana, anything you'd like to plug in, any words of wisdom to
My
the
gosh,
cast
I
members
know.
who are
Well,
listening?
after all that, I'm just like, oh, that's so wise, Gabby. I
Love
love
one
that.
another.
Love each other. The only thing I was going to mention that we didn't talk about on the pod was Asia saying Mr. Gamer. I don't know why to Rome, but that
Hello,
like really
Mr.
stood out.
Gamer.
Hello, Mr. Gamer, which I would love for Rome to be like, oh, that was my father.
I think
But
there's also like a 27% chance that Asia forgot his name. It was like, Mr.
oh yeah,
Gamer, that
Gamer?
guy.
Sure. Which is funny because obviously as a commentator for games, that makes sense, but also kind of very negative connotations on Survivor, right? Because it's like, oh, you're gaming, you're playing too hard, whatever. Loved it. My only plug is for the Masked Singer podcast, which is going to be coming back. Pooya and I have a big announcement that we're going to make on the very first episode. So that's the little teaser for that. Definitely check that out.
Okay, so check out that announcement. Masked Singer back Wednesday, right? Going up against Survivor once again.
Yes, as always.
You can check out everything I'm doing Survivor-wise. Of course, I got the chance to talk with John Lovett, which was so much fun. I mentioned little tidbits earlier in this podcast. He sheds a lot of light as to his own perspective behind everything that went down, his relationship with Andy, how he sought out the tribe dynamics, and why he was booted. So be sure to check that out. I'm also doing Big Brother Exit Press, the Challenge Exit Press, the Circle Exit Press, and then over on the scripted side on RHAP, it is positively hopping because I'm doing TV for real with Sasha Joseph. We had Hannah Rose on this week in honor of the Survivor premiere, where we just talked about a bunch of TV shows, which was a great time. For a brief period of time, she thought that Smash was MASH. It was a great conversation. Check that out over on We Know Scripted TV. I'm talking Lost with Josh Wigler. We're doing seasonal recaps for first-time viewers. And I am jumping on coverage of The Penguin, which aired its first episode on Max on Thursday. You should be sure to check all that out. And coming back, speaking of Josh Wigler, he'll be making, talk about long overdue B&B appearances. He'll be back for the first time in like almost 10 seasons, I think,
A
on the
long
B&B.
time.
A long time
A long
on the
time.
B&B next week. So send us your games. Send us your ideas, rhapbnb@gmail.com or hashtag rhapbnb on social media. We'll see what happens next week. Sounds like the mess will continue, and Liana and I will be here to recap it all. Special thanks to everybody behind the scenes at RHAP for making sure this podcast is in your eyes and ears in a timely and fashionable manner, and to Will from America for his fantastic theme song. We'll be back next week with Josh Wigler covering episode 2 of Survivor 47. Until next time, everybody, we'll check you out at your next stay.